Guys. I want to make a little video on our lesson today. You guys just started your flash drafts with your simulated violence essays, and what you're going to work on now is really pushing your evidence. Yesterday, we kind of had you just write your body paragraphs with your reason, one piece of evidence, working on the explanation, and then using the races format to really push yourself. Today's goal is to add more evidence, and you want to make sure that your explanation is super duper duper strong. And I think what we really want to point out is that you can use any piece of relevant evidence and you can spin your explanation any way that you want to make it work for you. Okay, so today we're going to talk about angling our evidence that we can convince our readers that our arguments are valid. Okay, so let's try that. The very first one that I pulled out was from the hijinks shootout article by Guy Martin. And it starts right here. The judge also makes a pie chart of death, the order of killing assignments, which he or she then distributes to squads shortly before opening day. I'm looking for some good massacres early, this year's judge said as the competition began the second week in May. Okay, so that's the evidence I'm going to use. I'll cite it. I can either use a direct quote or a paraphrase, but remember, you still need to use the author's name, Guy Martin, and or the article title, or both. Okay, now, just read the article or just read the evidence. We're going to spin it to say that simulated violence games are beneficial. They're good for us. Okay. So again, I would have my R, I would have my A, and then I would throw this in here. And then after I have my evidence, here's my explanation. Role-playing games, including these violent ones like Killer, are good for kids. For example, some games end up taking on leadership positions with a lot of responsibility in those games. They show a lot of initiative, like when the judge in this game thought carefully about the order of the killing assignments. Okay, so I just took this piece of evidence, put it in my paragraph, and made it positive. Okay, I took it and I talked about leadership positions, talked about responsibility, talking about kids showing initiative, and all these things are shown in this piece of evidence. Okay, that's great. But let's say you're trying to say that simulated violent games are bad, and you saw the same evidence, and you're like, well, sure, let's go for it. Okay. So here's a way we could spin that this way. So again, you have your R, your A, you cite your evidence, and now it's time for the explanation. You could say, down here, these violent role-playing games are not good for kids. In particular, they give kids too much power over each other. For example, the judge in this game of Killer sets up squads and the order of killings, and that means he sets upperclassmen against lowerclassmen, and he sets girlfriends and boyfriends against each other. It is just too much power for one kid to have over his classmates. Too much power can cause some warped thought processes. Okay, so same piece of evidence, but I can make it positive by saying that it gives people leadership, it gives them more responsibility, it gives people initiative. Or I can take that same piece of evidence and make it negative by saying that you give them too much power and they start toying with people and putting them up against each other, and it gives them crazy, warped thought processes. It works for both of them. Okay, so that's what's super important, is that when you go and find your evidence, your explanation is key. Your explanation is what makes it perfect. Okay, you don't have to spend like days looking for the perfect piece of evidence. Find something that is going to be relevant, that works for you, but then your explanation, remember, your words are more important than your evidence, because you are the one arguing here. You are the one voicing your opinion and trying to prove what you're going to say. Okay, so now if we were in class today, we would be doing partner one, partner two. Okay, one of you would be the person who's saying that they're good for kids. One of you would be saying that they're not good for kids. Let's just read it and talk through it real quick. So we're going to go here. In 2007, Jake Brochel, a freshman, distinguished himself by ferreting out the itinerary of a field trip that two targets were taking to Tel Aviv. Brochel took a car to Newark Airport, found the victims before they passed through security, and dispatched them using 2 bathtub squirtfish. I had to get special permission from the judge for the squirtfish because I didn't want to take my gun anywhere near an LL counter. Brochel, now a junior, recalled as he paced Pierpont Street, 3 water guns shoved inside the pocket of a hoodie. So this is the piece of evidence that I used yesterday when I was doing my body paragraphs, and I spun this to be bad, that these simulated violent games are bad. Because if you remember, I said they're bad because you have to think about these things. And if you have to really consider getting an airport permission, I mean, is it safe enough to be doing this? Plus, it puts kids in a position that they maybe shouldn't be in when there's all this danger around, right? But you could also spin this to be good. So if you were partner one, this is what you would have said. You can spin this to be good because you can say that gives people the chance to think ahead and strategize. Like it gave Jake Purtrell a reason here to think ahead and think about what's going on and how he can make sure that he's being safe, but also using strategy and winning, right? So you could use the same piece of evidence for both sides. Okay. So what we're going to do, first of all, after we read this, you're going to pause the video and then you're going to go back to what you wrote yesterday. And after you listen to me here, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your body paragraphs and make sure that your explanation is super duper strong. Don't just say they're violent. Tell me why they're violent. Tell me why it's bad. Go as super into detail as you can. Remember, you are not just talking about the game killer. You are talking about any type of simulated violent game. Paintballing, squirt gun, video games, whatever you're talking about, but it's not just this game. So go into detail. If you want to tell a personal story, that's fine. You want more detail. You want your words here, but remember, your explanation is going to be strong. Okay? Add a little bit more. When you add a little bit, when you add a little bit more, you're going to come back here, okay? And I'm going to show you this. Now, after you just added your body paragraphs, this is going to be on Schoology in the position papers folder. There's this link, okay? You're going to click on it, and it's going to take you to a Google Doc. And this Google Doc is going to have additional sources. So there's a bunch of them. Grand Theft Auto, Online Gamers. This one's called Shooting in the Dark. Video Games Stopping Crime. And then Essential Facts About Gaming and Violence. So there's a lot here. You're going to find at least one. But if you want to find more than one, that's great. You're going to find at least one more source. And you're going to add one or two more pieces of evidence. At the end of the day, you want 4 total pieces of evidence in your whole essay. So if you want to add one more to each body paragraph, that's great. That's going to get you in a good spot. But remember, you are not just adding evidence. The most important thing to add is your explanation. Okay? Your explanation is what makes it strong. It's what pushes your point. Okay? All right. I guess if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I can check your essays. They're on Schoology as long as you do the one on Schoology. By the end of the day today, you're going to have 2 super, super, super stellar body paragraphs with 2 pieces of evidence or 2 text evidences. You're going to have the killer, the hijinks shootout, and then you're going to have at least one. If you want to have 2, that's great, but at least one more. And remember, cite using your works cited page. So use EasyBib or Citation Machine, but if you're going to use a different website, you're going to create a works cited sources. All right. Bye.